Welcome to the aftermath of silence, where no songs are sung and no trophies are raised, where the night hides everything and the truth stays buried beneath blood, sweat, and defiance. You did not rise under the lights. You clawed your way up in the shadows unnoticed, unnamed, uncelebrated. But now the world stands still because you moved unseen. You didn't ask for respect, you took it. You didn't beg for a seat at the table. You shattered the table itself and built a throne from its ashes. Now you sit where no man dared, no man dreamed, and no man believed you ever would. You are the storm, the silence, the unsung, final word. And whether the world cheers or recoils now, the crown is yours, and the weight is not shared, it is owned. By you, completely. Before we go any deeper, before we crawl into the marrow of this message, I want you to take a moment, breathe it in, and look at what you've become. If this speech resonates, if the darkness in these words feels like home, if your scars have stories no one bothered to read, then this is for you. Leave a mark, like you left your mark on the world. Hit like, so others know. You stood tall in silence, and if the shadows speak your name, subscribe to stay in the dark with me. Drop a comment if your throne was earned and not handed, if no one applauded when you bled, but you kept going anyway. This isn't for the crowd, it's for the quiet conquerors. They'll never know what it took, what it cost, what it broke inside you. They'll never know how many nights you didn't sleep, how many times you folded your pain into silence and made it fuel. They'll never understand the brutal elegance of sacrifice, the art of losing parts of yourself piece by piece just to stay in the game. They think kings are born in palaces, but kings are forged in prisons of their own making. You built this kingdom brick by brick out of failure, betrayal, rejection, and cold rage. You didn't rise with music, you rose in silence like a ghost, like a warning. You weren't chosen, you chose yourself. And that's why they'll never understand why the air feels different when you walk in the room. You carry more than presence, you carry judgment. And now the chains of command end with you. Let them wonder, let them whisper, let them create stories around your silence. That's their burden. Yours is heavier. You carry not just a crown, but every scar you earned to reach it. You carry the ghosts of who you used to be, the voices that told you to quit, the echoes of every door slammed in your face. You carry vengeance not for revenge, but for meaning, because if there's no meaning behind the pain, then you wouldn't be here, but you are. And that means every loss served its purpose, every betrayal lit the path, every fall was another brick laid beneath your rise. That throne wasn't handed, it was carved out of your bones and will. There's a madness in greatness, a quiet torment, a slow unraveling of comfort. To rule, you must first be ruled by hunger, not just the hunger for more, but the hunger for redemption, for proof that you were right to keep going when no one stood with you. That kind of hunger makes men gods and gods monsters, and you've crossed both lines. They can't trace your steps because they would have broken at the second one. You've walked over landmines with a smile, you've turned silence into strategy, and now you sit on a throne they said didn't exist. The throne you saw when you had nothing, when you were nothing. But now you're everything, and yet still you walk alone. That's the truth they don't teach in victory. You killed the part of you that waited. You murdered the old version of yourself that asked for permission, that begged to be noticed, that cried for mercy. That version died a necessary death, and its funeral was held in secret, with no guests, no tears. You didn't look back because forward was the only way. And you didn't just move forward, you consumed everything in your path. You burned bridges, not out of rage, but necessity. You knew some places could never be returned to, and you accepted that. Kings don't retreat. Kings don't rewind. They burn what they outgrow and never apologize for the ashes left behind. You earned your place in silence because noise is a luxury for the comfortable. You weren't given time, you stole it. You weren't offered a future, you built one. And now it's yours, not because of luck or chance, but because of obsession, because of the kind of discipline that makes people uncomfortable to witness. You didn't break the rules, you rewrote them. And now, the weight of command rests on your shoulders alone. You answer to no one. There is no higher room, no greater throne. This is the top, the peak, the end. And now that you're here, all that's left is what you do with it. You didn't become the king of kings to rest. You didn't crawl through hell just to lounge in heaven. This throne is not a reward, it's a weapon. Use it. Sit high and strike low. Sit calm and move fast. Sit still and remain unpredictable. Let them come to you with their hopes, their fears, their wars. You are not their savior. You are their final test. If they're not strong enough to reach you, they were never meant to. Don't lower yourself to meet them. Make them rise or fade. Let your silence be the judgment. Let your calm be the chaos. Let your presence be punishment enough. And still there will be nights when it all feels like too much. The weight, the silence, the echoes of past selves still screaming beneath your calm exterior. But that's the tax of power. You don't get to break. You don't get to fall apart. You fall forward, or you don't fall at all. They see your crown, but not the war it represents. Not the sleepless nights, not the friends turned enemies, not the wounds still bleeding under gold. But you do. You remember every name, every moment, every time you had to choose violence over vulnerability. And you do it again, 1,000 times, because you don't regret the war that made you this way. You regret nothing, except not starting sooner. And even now, no one knows what you just pulled off. The full weight of your transformation, the real story behind your rise is known only to you. They'll invent myths, fill the gaps with fantasy, but you'll smile because you know. The truth is darker than they can handle, more brutal than they can accept, and more sacred than they deserve to hear. Let them have the illusion. Keep the truth close like a weapon, because silence is still your greatest advantage. And no one suspects the storm when it wears the mask of calm. So wear that mask, sit on that throne, speak only when it shifts worlds, and when they ask you did it, just look them in the eye and say nothing. Because kings don't explain. Kings exist. And now the chains of command end with you, forever. They'll call you lucky because they can't handle the truth. They'll say fate favored you because it's easier than admitting they couldn't have survived what you did. Let them talk. Let them drown in their words while you build in silence. Because you know there was no luck, no fate, no divine hand pulling you up. Just you, your grit, your refusal to die. And now the world bends around your will, not because it wants to, but because it has to. The air changes when you walk in, not because of arrogance, but because power walks with you and it doesn't apologize. They thought the climb would break you, and it did, again and again. But each time you shattered, you came back sharper, colder, harder to read, easier to fear. You didn't rebuild, you reinvented. You didn't cry out for help. You buried the weakness and wore the grave as armor. The reason they can't understand you is because they've never met someone who got this far without selling their soul. But you kept yours. You used it like a weapon. They gave up their hearts for comfort. You turned yours into a kingdom, and now it's yours to rule. Every law bends now because your name is above it. Every wall crumbles because your will is stronger. Every rival watches from below, bitter and hollow, because they realize too late. They weren't prepared to go where you were willing to go. They had limits. You erased yours. And now they look up at your throne and whisper legends, not realizing the real story was written in the dark when no one was watching. The truth is this: they watched the highlight reel. You lived the horror story. But the past no longer controls you. It fuels you. Your past is not a chain, it's a sword. Every betrayal gave you an edge. Every setback gave you reach. Every failure carved your focus sharper than the one before. And now, every time someone questions your place at the top, you don't need to argue. You just point to the empire around you, the empire they never saw coming. But here's the part they'll never grasp, the scariest part of all. You didn't do it for them. You didn't rise for revenge or applause or even validation. You rose because you had to, because if you didn't, everything inside you would have rotted. You chose the path that burned, the path that killed parts of you that no one even knew existed, and you walked it alone. No fanfare, no audience, just rage and clarity and obsession. And now that it's done, now that the kingdom is yours and the war is quiet, you feel it, don't you? That stillness, not peace, not relief, not pride, but the deep, echoing silence of someone who finished the mission and realizes there's no going back. You're not like them anymore. You're not one of them. You outgrew the species. Your blood changed somewhere along the line. And the worst part? You still don't expect anyone to understand. That's why you don't speak much anymore. That's why your eyes say what your mouth never could. You've become fluent in silence, dangerous in stillness, violent and calm. And yet, you carry the weight not like a burden, but like a reminder, because it reminds you what it cost and what it's worth. And most of all, that you are not to be understood. You are to be obeyed, because now the hierarchy ends with you. There is no one else to defer to. There is no higher up. There is no more next level. You are the level. You are the summit. You are the final authority. Not because someone gave you that title, but because no one else could survive long enough to claim it. That's the dark truth they'll try to erase. That's the version they'll never tell in stories, because your path wasn't beautiful. It was brutal. It was messy. And it was necessary. You burned to become this. You suffered to earn this. And now that the flames are behind you and the crown is fused to your soul, you don't just sit on the throne. You own the fire that forged it. So when they come, and they will come, to challenge you, to test the legend, to see if the king still bleeds, you will not raise your voice. You will not give them your story. You will not hand them the satisfaction of understanding you. You'll simply rise from the throne, look them dead in the eyes, and remind them that no one knows what you just pulled off, but now you are the King of Kings. And there are no more gods to pray to, no more ladders to climb, no more lights to chase, only you, and the silence that follows you. Because where the chains of command once stretched to the heavens, now they end with you. You don't get to turn it off now. You don't get to be soft. The world doesn't care that you're tired or that it cost you more than anyone could imagine. The crown is welded to your identity now, and you carry it even in sleep, even in silence, especially in silence. Because real power doesn't scream, doesn't boast, doesn't perform. It watches, it waits. And when it moves, It moves with finality, like a god with no one left to fear. But you remember, don't you? The hunger, the nights when you screamed into a void that never answered, the days where you watched weaker men rise ahead of you because they played a cleaner game. You remember being overlooked, forgotten, underestimated. And each one of those memories has a name, a face, a moment you carry like shrapnel buried in your chest. Not because you're bitter, because you survived it. You didn't just go through the fire. You owned it. You bent it around your will and forged your reign from its wrath. And now, you wear your past like armor. There's a kind of quiet that only the powerful know. It's not peace. It's not even satisfaction. It's awareness, the terrifying clarity that you're alone at the summit and no one will ever understand what it took to stay there. Because reaching the top is just step one. Staying there, that's where legends bleed. That's where gods fall. And you have no safety net anymore. There is no backup plan. There is no next leader. You are the answer. You are the consequence. You are the final stop. And that kind of weight, most men crumble under it. But you don't. You wear it like a king wears steel. Heavy, yes, but familiar. You don't flinch anymore. You don't second guess. You decide. And when you decide, reality shifts. Because you're not reacting anymore. You're not chasing. You are the storm now. You are the standard. You are the line between order and chaos, and both sides kneel when you walk by. And yet, here's the thing they don't know. The thing they'll never see unless they're cursed enough to walk this same path. Power isolates. Victory silences. And at the top, there is no applause, just echoes. Because the higher you climb, the fewer people speak your language. And now, you speak in absolutes. You move in inevitables. You breathe in war and exhale results. No one asks how you did it because deep down, they're scared to know. Because they suspect, don't they? They suspect it wasn't clean, that it wasn't pretty, that maybe you had to become something else to make it here. And they're right, you did. You became what they feared, what they warned each other about. You became the quiet vengeance of someone who wasn't supposed to survive. And that's why you did. That's why you'll keep surviving. Because the old you, the one who waited, who asked permission, who played fair, that version died screaming. And you didn't mourn it. You buried it deep. So deep that even your reflection flinches now. Because what stares back isn't the man who started this journey. It's the one who finished it, the one who outlasted everyone. Now the throne is yours, and with it comes the silence no one warned you about. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of finality, of realization that everything you fought for, it's here now. And the battlefield has gone quiet not because the war ended, but because you won. And winning changes you. It doesn't heal. It doesn't forgive. It hardens. Because now you see the truth. The world didn't need another hero. It needed something colder, sharper, unshakable. And that's what you became. You became the immovable object and the unstoppable force. You became the nightmare they never saw coming. And when they ask, because they will, what it cost, you won't answer, because they wouldn't pay the price, not one of them. But you paid in full. And now your silence speaks louder than any war cry ever could. So sit on your throne, high above the noise, above the lies, above the fragile ego still scrambling for approval you no longer need. You are not one of them. You are not here to be understood. You are not here to be loved. You are here to rule. And not just rule, to outlast. Because thrones are not inherited, they're taken. And they're kept by those who don't blink. So when the vultures circle, let them. When the whispers return, let them whisper. Because they don't know what you just pulled off. But you do. You'll always know, and you'll carry it alone, as it was meant to be. Because the chains of command, the endless lines of power, they end with you now. And that is your legacy, your burden, your truth. You are the King of Kings, and there is nothing left to prove. Only history left to write, in silence, in fire, in blood, and in your name, forever. Because what they don't understand is that when you win like this, when you take the crown and kill the hierarchy, the enemy isn't out there anymore. It's not the rivals or the doubters. It's the silence. It's the nothingness that stares back once there's no one left to beat. And you don't run from that silence. You don't distract yourself with comfort or illusion or noise. You walk into it, eyes forward, mind sharp. Because kings like you aren't afraid of being alone. You became this because you were alone. You made a kingdom out of absence. You made armor out of abandonment. And now you sit where no one else could. And the ones that come for your place, let them. Let them dream. Let them fantasize about taking the throne you bled for. They have no idea. No idea what this costs. No idea what it demands. No idea that while they sleep, you watch. While they plan, you execute. While they pray, you command. Because now, the crown isn't decoration. It's not gold and jewels. It's a weight fused to your bones, a scar on your soul. A badge that says, I end things, I decide. You are not the final chapter. You are the period. And when people cross the line, it is you they find. Not a wall, not a warning. You, the living consequence. They will never see the battles you fought just to stay human, the sacrifices that no one witnessed, the pain that didn't make it to the surface. You gave up parts of yourself that will never grow back. You killed the comfort. You chose pain again and again, and you did it with full awareness of what it would turn you into. And what are you now? You're not just the king. You're not just the ruler. You are the edge of reality itself, where rules stop and truth begins. You're what happens when someone refuses to break, refuses to bend, refuses to be forgotten. You became the embodiment of willpower, sharpened into leadership. And it's not pretty, it's not gentle, it's not poetic, it's necessary. Now, you don't wait for the world to understand you. That time is long gone. Let them misunderstand. Let them label. Let them reduce you to headlines and hushed tones. What matters is this, you know. You remember every inch of the warpath, every betrayal, every bone that broke inside you but still stood. That's your foundation. Not followers, not applause, fire. You are the ruler forged by fire, and the fire never left. It just waits behind your calm expression, behind your measured silence, behind your throne. But when it's time, when the peace starts to rot, when the world forgets who built it, you will rise again. Not for pride, not for power, but because that's who you are now, the one who ends things, the final chapter, the moment before darkness returns. And if they're lucky, they'll only see the crown, If they're unlucky, they'll see what it cost. They'll see the king who walks alone, not because no one can follow, but because no one survived the journey. The path was paved in sacrifice, and the throne is soaked in solitude. But you accept it, because it's better to be alone at the top than dead at the bottom. And you are very much alive, because no one knows what you just pulled off. But now the game is over. The King of Kings has risen, and the world has changed. Forever. Because now the chains of command don't stretch upward. They stop here. They stop with you. The end.